we want that young high school kid. We want that young middle school person. We want that person that's like, Mom, can you take me to this thing so I can meet these people, so I can try to do this thing that I kind of love? And Mom's like, really? Like, okay, cool. Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to the Lakeshore Explorer podcast. My name is George and this is Andy. And with me today is Stephan Cook, musician and entertainer.
That's right.
How you doing?
I'm good. Stoked to be here.
Yeah. I'm stoked to have you.
Yeah.
I heard you're the guy to talk to about music in Northwest Indiana. So
I like hearing that. I mean, I guess, we'll see what I can dig up,
Yeah, for sure. What bring us all up to speed. What are like the main things you do in the music scene?
Yeah, so I mostly play in a band called Fresh Hops. It's a local, I would say, multi-genre rock band mostly. And then I have another project called Catman Dog that is mostly like a stripped down version of that, I would say, kind of more for smaller spaces, wineries, tasting rooms, breweries, things like that. Whereas like the big band in Fresh Hops, we kind of like rent out other spaces, bigger venues, things of that nature. So Catman Dog is an acoustic duo versus Fresh Hops, which is like a 4-piece full rock band.
Okay, and Catman Dog's you and Ian?
Yes, Catman Dog is me and Ian. Fresh Hops is also myself and Ian, and then a gentleman by the name of Tommy Fell who plays drums, and our friend Martin Gomez who plays guitar as well in that.
Sick. Well, Tommy was with Caught on Klein for a while, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Cool. Yeah, I did a little interview with them last year, or maybe a couple years ago now. Part of that Artists Underground series. Did you see that stuff?
I did see some of that stuff. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. That was with Nick Cazonas and his band. So, I haven't had time to really keep that up. So that's why I was like, let's start a podcast. And it's easier because AI edits everything.
Well, that's great.
That's something that I don't know if people at home knew this, but these podcasts are entirely edited by AI. All I do is put it into Premiere and use Autopod. One click, the whole thing edits itself in like 30 seconds. And then it basically uses the waveform to determine which camera is like going. So you have to have multiple audio sources. So I link this mic to that camera, your mic to your camera, and then you set the frequency for like when it goes to the wide shot. So basically it just knows by who's talking when to switch. And then when I export it, I put it into, I upload it to YouTube, and then I put that link into Opus Clip. And that's another AI that will automatically search through the entire podcast, find the best clips that it thinks is going to go viral. And it even gives you like a whole score based on like, oh, this is going to go viral for this reason. Like this is a 99 out of 100. This one's like a 70 out of 100. So it'll give me like 30 clips and tell me which ones are going to be the most viral clips. Yeah. And then I take the transcript from that little clip and put it into ChatGPT, and I tell it, write me a like Instagram post that is for a podcast that uses this dialogue, and it'll just spit out what I need to do, copy, paste it into all the different apps, and I just upload to YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn. Is that all of them?
I'm not even sure.
Twitter, which X now. So, I'm not on most of those apps, like with any other social media. I don't use them, but the only ones I really use are Facebook and Instagram. But for this, I was like, let's just upload it to everything and see what happens. So,
you might as well.
Yeah.
Sounds very easy, and not easy in some, but like, using AI, I've heard so many like negative things. That sounds like really positive for
it's awesome for
usability.
Yeah, for like a videographer like me, like that literally saves me an entire day.
Yeah.
Like just editing the podcast, like a 1 hour podcast, used to take like 4 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Just to cut between camera angles. Yeah. That's it. And then to find the clips that are like good sections, that would take like another 4 hours, and then to recrop it and stuff, like it would take forever. And then also adding all the captions, like Opus Clip automatically adds everything. It does, it reframes it based on, it knows where I'm at in the frame and stuff. So it's so crazy. I actually love it right now, but, you know, in the future, it might eliminate my job. So I don't know. We'll see.
I can't eliminate this part of it. You know, that's the part of it that's not going to be able to eliminate. But
maybe. I mean, maybe. Have you seen that new the Oculus thing that they for Meta, Facebook?
I mean, I know of the Oculus thing. I know that, like, I can only imagine from what they had started at, like, where they are now 3 or 4 years into this thing.
Yeah. So the new one, Zuckerberg did a podcast with Lex Friedman, and they were, you know, across the country, different places, and they put these goggles on, and it somehow is able to recreate how they would look in a room together. So the entire thing is AI created, but it looked real. So I feel like that's going to eliminate my job. But, I mean, I don't know. There's probably
they still had to be involved in it though, right? Somewhat. Like someone had to be wearing the Oculus somewhere.
The people doing the podcast, but the person, like what I do for a living, who runs the cameras, that person's gone.
Right.
So that's my job.
Yeah.
So I don't know what this kind of brings me into, as far as like AI stealing jobs. Have you seen anything with the music industry that makes you worried? Or
so, I mean, I wouldn't say that I've seen too much that has like made me worried. I really can't say that I've really divulged in it that much either. You know, I've heard this, you know, that you can use it to write lyrics. I've heard potentially it helping to do mixing and mastering with albums and things of that nature, even just the recording process, using it with that. I'll say this, the stuff that I've seen that it's produced lyrically, like some of the things it's like, oh, write me a song about this. I can't say that I've like really sat back and been able to say, well, that either really is bad or it's really good either. I think putting, you know, you have to find context with also the music part of it, you know, and if AI is only writing you lyrics and you then have to, or if they're maybe writing both, I'm not sure. In the cases that I've seen, they only just had produced lyrics. You know, someone said, just write this kind of a song, and they did that. And so, you know, again, putting those like the music to it is the part of it that I've always, you know, I believe is the most important thing. You know, you can't. And so, you know, I think that kind of brings it, you know, to the human element of it. Ian, who is the person who writes all the music in Fresh Hops, or most of the music, I should say, he normally brings that kind of a thing forward. That's what he would bring forth, is like, here are the music part of this song, and here is this lyric part of the song. Let's try to embellish upon these two things that I've brought. And so I've been able to get attached to it that way. And I think that's kind of the way that it's always been pre, you know, AI now. But yeah, I don't know, as far as violin goes, and, you know, I don't write too much music. I do, you know, write parts to songs and things of that nature. And I have written songs in the past. But for the most part, I don't really it doesn't scare me that much. You know, in fact, I feel like when new things come to the forefront, before people are kind of turned off by them or, you know, scared of them, they need to really do their own homework behind them, you know? So that's the part of it that I haven't done. And I can't say like, oh, I'm really scared of it because of this and this and this and this, you know, at this point, you know, let's like, if I do divulge into that part of it, the homework and figuring it all out, then maybe I'll have a little bit more something negative to say, but it, you know, it doesn't seem, it's not at this point scaring me. You know?
I haven't looked a ton into the music side of it, but I have heard a few things where it was like, oh, this song is entirely created by AI, including like all the instruments and stuff. And it was like, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, luckily for you, like, you do live shows and stuff, so that's never going to be taken by AI. I feel like it'd be really tough to sell like robots on stage doing music, because then at that point it's like, Celebration Station style,
Yeah,
animatronics.
totally.
But
Oh man, yeah.
do you remember that place?
Totally, I do. I was trying to think of the
Maryville,
other,
I think.
Yeah, just right off the 65 right there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I kind of went to like at
30.
least 100 birthday parties there. I kind of wanted to know what actually happened to that band. You
Yeah,
know,
I
they're
know
locked
it.
up in someone's
Yeah.
closet or garage right now.
Yeah.
Maybe closet, but garage mostly.
All those old animatronics are so creepy, but
Yeah.
I love it. Didn't they make a movie recently, Five Nights at Freddy's or something? I think it was for kids, but I didn't see
sure.
it. But it was basically
animatronics?
Animatronics come alive and
gosh.
like kill people or something. It was. I saw it around Halloween. I didn't watch the movie, but I saw stuff for it. But yeah, as far as like the audio processing, I do use AI to process all the audio too. So like the audio coming off the mics right here, I upload it to Adobe Podcast Audio. That's just what it's called. And they're trying to integrate it into Premiere, but in my they have it in the beta, and I tried it, and it doesn't seem to work as well as uploading it and just letting it do it online. I don't know if that's just kinks they got to work out, but it does an amazing job at taking out all of the background noise. So like some podcasts I do like in corporate offices, and they have like air conditioning that you can't turn off. Like that's just always on.
Right.
Yeah. And so it'll eliminate that. We did one in someone's house, and their dogs were barking in the other room.
Yeah.
Took that out completely. Couldn't hear it at all. So
that's great.
And then it also like just embellishes like the bass and everything. It makes it good for podcasts. So I've been using that since January. And I haven't dove into any AI for like mixing and mastering yet. I use like plugins in Premiere to just kind of, make it sound a little better. I did go to school for audio production, but at this point that was like over 10 years ago now, since I graduated from Ball State, and everything's so different. So like, as far as like audio stuff, typically for my videos, it's good enough if I just use a couple plugins of compressors and a little delay and echo and stuff. And there is some like mastering plugins that I throw in on top of it, and it has like all presets. Like here's one for guitar, here's one for vocals, here's one. You can change it to like sound like it's in a club or sound like it's in a giant hall, or stuff like that.
Nice,
But that's not AI doing it. That's just like plugins that I'm throwing on top. But I am excited for AI for like the editing side until it eliminates my job completely. Once it gets to the point where people can do stuff on their phone, I mean,
like, what am I gonna do?
That's when my job kind of gets eliminated. Because one thing that I've been seeing, I don't know if you saw this, but this guy just did this Adidas spec ad where he doesn't work for Adidas or anything, but he wanted to create this ad using AI just to see what it could do. He did it on his lunch break, and it was so good that Adidas shared it and like is actually using it to promote their brand, and it looks amazing. Like the shoes are like moving around and like dripping, and like it's just so crazy, the colors and stuff. And then like all the people look like they're in Tron, like they got glowing shoulders
pads,
and everything's like glowing and stuff. So it's so futuristic, which is super cool. I love the way it looks, but that was made in less than an hour on the dude's lunch break, just having fun with it. And this is a guy who's like, he does like directing and stuff. Like he makes movies and stuff. So he knows what he's doing, like as far as the prompt goes. So that's why he was able to like do it so quickly. But I got to play around with it. It's a Runway app is what it's called. I want to play around with that to see like just how far you can push it, and if it really is that easy, like that's gonna eliminate my job right there. Well, not necessarily eliminate my job, because it'll just basically cause me to pivot. But I do think that within the next couple of years, maybe even next year, you'll stop having people needing to buy cameras, because everything will be created in virtual space, in CGI basically, and it's starting to look so good with using the AI that you'll be able to, even if you just use your phone to kind of capture something, it'll be able to take the input from your phone, take the data to get a rough idea of what the environment looks like in real life, and then in it'll be able to recreate camera angles in post. And so that might be beneficial for you guys as a band, because you'll be able to set up your phone on a tripod, and then with one click, it'll make like an awesome video of your set.
Yeah.
It'll look like all these close-ups and moving. It'll look like drones are flying around and stuff.
Yeah.
And that'll all be created by the user, by the whoever wants it. So that's why it'll eliminate my job, because people will be able to make this so easily that they won't need to hire someone. But for the time being, it's helping me out a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but I don't know. Maybe that's going to be a good thing overall, and I'll just figure out another creative thing
I mean, you said you'll find a way to pivot. I believe that. You know, there's a way to do that.
Yeah. So there's always ways to pivot. Have you noticed anything in the music industry that's caused you to pivot?
Well, I mean, I think COVID definitely caused a pivot in, a lot of different ways. I would say one of the biggest things that it did was change times for shows, and actually show me and then the rest of the guys. I think from what we do, that, time-wise, let's say, when we're putting our show out, whether that's at a festival or, whether that's at a club or something of that nature, that the earlier show for us is a better thing, It's something like that. Whereas before we were like 10 to 2, 11 to 3 at some of these places. And I think we would start to you just start losing people at 10 o'clock. They're not really just like starting to pick up at that point. They're not, they're pretty gone by then. So that being able to like remember what happened on stage, we were kind of leaving those situations being like, do you think anybody even remembers what we did? We liked what we were playing. We thought it was cool, but is it going to resonate with people? So I think like stuff like that, pivot wise. I mean, other than that, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that's really made me, I think, places in general are more cautious to the money they're spending, so like less places are booking bands that or like even more original music is kind of taking kind of like a back seat in a lot of cases, whereas you'll see, and this is, it's Northwest Indiana, but it's everywhere, because we travel everywhere and we see it everywhere. It's just that like a cover band is going to, they're going to get more push in a local area or in a spot at a venue than somebody that's coming in there trying to bring original music. And it's, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not sitting here going to complain about it by any means. Like if your original music, it's like I was even saying earlier, it's subjective. Like I want people to, of course, like my music, but it's for me. So just having that, like, if it's not going to carry in that town or however it works, just like that cover band gets this, like, they get pushed to the forefront. And a lot of these venues are rather taking them on rather than, going with the original band and that for that matter. Yeah. And I mean, again, it's understandable. They're doing better on those nights. I think it's a confusing thing for a lot of people because people are like, well, this cover band, and I've heard this a lot, is like they'll be confused. They'll think that someone in that band is from the original band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're like, wait, isn't, and I'm like, no, that guitar player is not from the, it's this person is,
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I didn't realize that there was a shift in like the timing. Because like for me, I never really went out to bars anyways, so I didn't think about it like that, but I have noticed that like stores they're not open 24 hours anymore.
No,
like
you're right.
Walmart or Meijer or anything. They all close by like 11 or 12. I think Walmart here closes at 11. I was like, what? Yeah. That's so crazy. Yeah. You used to be able to go any time of night. So yeah, maybe there was a big shift in people's, maybe everyone's just kind of focused more on their health or something like that. They just want to get that good sleep in, or
yeah. I mean, I would think to me, sleep is the best drug that's out there. So that definitely, I think, maybe opened some eyes for some people. Hopefully, because that's a good thing. But I just think that yeah, there just maybe used to be more of this drive, and maybe I'm just getting older. Maybe that's also what it is too. That like I can't hang till 2:00 in the morning anymore.
How old are you?
I'm 37.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you're older than me. I'm 34. I'll be 35 in less than a month. So,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a big factor in why I don't go out to bars and stuff. I always want to go see bands, and I'm like, it's so late. It's past 8:30.
Yeah. So we try, even nowadays, I mean, like we do a thing every Wednesday night in Dyer at this barbecue joint called Doc's, and we play 8:00. You know, that's the time we start.
Oh, nice.
And we usually do that from like 8 to 9, and then we open it up to the jammers, which that kind of is more of a thing that we've noticed is, you know, that those are the people that are out later. They like, you know, the musicians that, you know, don't have something to do in the morning, or, you know, they, I don't know, they just spend their time, you know, wanting to converse and at a local spot, you know, and that happens to be a really good one. You know, they've got really good food there. Drink selection is really nice. It's a big open room, very clean, non-smoking, just like a lot of different amenities.
Doc's, you said?
Yeah, it's a barbecue spot that's in Dyer off Calumet Avenue,
okay, cool.
And we're really lucky to have it. You know, we've played and done these certain like jam night type of gigs over the last pretty much the existence of Fresh Hops, which is about 15 years, and it's helped build community. It's helped build. I've watched a lot of local musicians, you know, kind of grow from it, and myself grow from it in certain ways. But yeah, just I've told this to a handful of people that, you know, putting together. Like I get good sleep at night when I put my head on my pillow because of the fact that I know that what we've been able to do and what we've been able to build locally with those jam nights has made musicians, you know, capable of doing what they do and what they love. James Guetta, Kin Leone, our friend Kyle Murdoch, who goes by the name Pretty Dope. Angel Jimenez, he's a friend of ours that, I mean, he was doing music previously, you know, but these are people that like, we almost just put this band aspect to. Aristotle, he goes by, his moniker is The Closets. These are people that when they first showed up, they would, you know, at these jam nights, they saw what we were doing and they were like, well, I want to be involved in that, but I don't know how I'm going to fit in. And we were just like, get up here. Yeah, that's what that is. Just come on up, you know, and we'll make sure that, you know, whatever you're doing, whatever is happening, we do a better thing as a group if we hold you up and make you sound good versus us being like, okay, well, go ahead and do it. We'll just sit back here and hope for the best, you know?
Yeah.
We're like, go out there and do it, and, you know.
So at the jam nights, you guys are like providing the whole backline or something?
Yeah, we do that to start, and then, we'll kind of fit it together. It's not always going to be like the same mix, but I'm kind of one of those people that like takes mental note of like what some certain musicians are doing. And so like, I'll know that this bass player can fit with this group, or this drummer can fit with this, or even give it a try, you know, like let's give this a try. I'm not doing it to like throw you a curveball. I mean, sometimes I guess I am, but most of the time I'm doing it genuinely just to like not only allow for all the musicians to feel welcome and feel like they're a part of it, but also to like show that other side of it, that like, you know, this is performance art. You're not going to always leave this thing going, oh man, I'm the best thing, you know. But I think what really you have to search for, and this is something that took me a long time to figure out, and I think it's something that over the last, I would say, couple years, and I still have to coach myself with it constantly, but it's the thing that I try to really inject into the local musicians that are a part of these jam nights, and that is it's for us. It's for the musician. Like that's where it has to start first. It has to be within you, and if you can focus solely on that aspect of it, that what is going to come off of from that entertainment, that music, that people will see that. They will resonate with that. Versus the person that gets up there and is like, I'm the best thing in the world, and look at me, look at me. People are like, okay, cool, that's great, you're great, you know. But like 10 minutes into that, they're like,
That's something that I find super cool, that when talking to like you and Jack Whittle and stuff, just talking about their jam nights, it's like you guys are it's almost like a university for up and coming musicians to teach them how to like work with a band and how to work on stage. And it's really cool that you guys are doing that locally here. Is that something that you've seen like across the country, or is that something unique that you're doing?
It's something that I would say I've seen across the country, but it's very unique to this area in a certain couple aspects that like really we do have, and I'm, maybe slightly more biased because I'm from this area and I get to see more and more of it. But the times that we were on the road with Fresh Hops and go to certain places, we still do, or we used to a lot more, but we still do go out to jam nights in those areas. Sometimes we were involved in them. We would go to Florida and we would be down there for a couple weeks. And so, a Tuesday night's not the best night. We would go to a jam night. We really do in Northwest Indiana have some of the best talent on all levels. Jack Whittle being a fantastic blues soul, watching him play is just, there's something special with that, James with the country, James Guetta with the way that he sings country and things of that nature. The same thing with and I'm really trying to just go after some more original bands here. There's that Steepwater band, and they're really fantastic blues, guys that play. I mean, we really come from an area with the Kinsey Report, with the guys from Gary being, some of the Big Daddy Kinsey being like one of the biggest blues, some of the biggest blues inspirations. And, they come out of Gary, and I have the opportunity to play with them. I've more recently come in contact with Keith Jackson, who's Michael Jackson's, I guess, first cousin. Oh, cool. And he's been doing some recordings and wants me involved with that. And he's a very fantastic, showed me a ton of recordings of his that he's original music and nice. More reggae based, of with what he's doing. But yeah, it's we really have such a big talent, that I'm lucky to kind of be a part of, and to be able to kind of say that, wow, I'm from up there, and that's we're proud to, specifically in Fresh Hops, we don't really come from, Chicago, although that's close. We don't come from Indianapolis, even though that's close. We're from Northwest Indiana, and we tell people that, that's,
it's definitely its own like little city, basically. I mean, in all aspects, not even just music. It's definitely got its own sort of culture in Northwest Indiana. There's a lot of people that hate on it. I'm not
totally.
Gonna lie, but
totally.
I love living here, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool place to live.
Well,
But do you ever play with Derek Caruso? He's another big blues
definitely.
guy too.
Derek Caruso is a fantastic guy. He's not the blue fuse. Is that what it is?
Derek Caruso and the Blues Fuse, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. I've seen videos of it. I don't know if I've technically or specifically been to one of his shows, but I'm very familiar with him.
Do you play a lot of like on the violin? Do you play the blues?
Not so. That's kind of the part of Fresh Hops that we really wanted to almost step away from. And when we first started, you mentioned Ball State was where that you kind of had started doing what you do and went to school. Our first drummer in the band, Kevin Martirosian, that's where he went to school, and that's kind of where Fresh Hops was born. It was born on an idea behind when he was a sophomore. He was able to get a house and move from the dorms into this house, and had his drum set kind of tucked in the back corner of his room. And I would go down. I had work an electrician job up here, and would on the weekends go down, and I'd be the only kid down there with, 19, 20-year-old kid down there with a pocket full of money because I had worked his, job all week, and nice. All these other kids are like, well, what are we going to do this weekend? Yeah. It's like, let's go get a keg and, and we would hang out at his house and play music. And just seeing what that was doing for people, that's what kind of helped build that.
I thought that I remembered you guys from Ball State.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure I've seen you guys play down there because I remember the name Fresh Hops.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you this. Did you guys ever play at One Earth?
Yeah, we played at all the One Earths.
Okay, sick.
Yeah.
Dude, I was telling Ken about it, and I was like, dude, this doesn't exist anymore. It's not a thing that like these kind of festivals, like literally lawless, basically.
Yeah, it was.
It was at
crazy
the Water
stuff
Bowl.
happened there. Crazy stuff happened there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was like one of the first times I saw you guys. I might have seen you at a house party or something, but I definitely saw you guys play at One Earth and Springfest.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was wild because they just had like tents set up and like you could it was like nonstop for 3 days or something, and you would camp there and just like do whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah, shout out to James Nimmer. Yeah, and that whole crew down there. Really,
that was wild. Those were some crazy times. I told Ken it's basically like a mini Woodstock, but like I don't know did they camp at Woodstock? I don't
they camped at Woodstock. So. Yeah. But it was basically that. It was like private property, so they wouldn't let the cops on it and stuff.
Yeah, I remember the cops trying to come in.
Yeah,
and they're like,
no, you can't. We're doing what we want. You know?
And you would see all kinds of crazy people there doing some crazy things.
Yeah, I definitely did crazy things there myself. So. Yeah.
It was a good time. I for some reason I remembered that name Fresh Hops, and I thought that I had seen you guys because you guys were like killing it, like jamming, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together until like years later when I filmed with you and James. I was like, wait a second, Fresh Hops. I think I know that from somewhere. Yeah. So you guys were playing. You were playing violin there.
I was playing violin then. Yeah, we were a different kind of a band then. We were kind of more of a instrumental, like 8-piece type of like really long or intricate orchestrated songs and things like that. And it was very fun. It was like growing up at that time as a band, I was like, we were in heaven. And we were around, I think some of it we saw the bad side of it. We did see that. We also saw, or I, for that matter, saw, the other sides of it too, which were, the good things, the what the power of music could provide. And essentially like, that's kind of what to this day continues to help me, do what I do is that like I know just it happens constantly where people will come up to me and the biggest compliments are, well, I that moved me, that I was able to forget about whatever I was dealing with, and just watching you do that, you made a silly face and that made me laugh. I've talked about this before on other podcasts, but I truly believe in collecting smiles and looking out in a crowd and I'm not doing it what I'm doing up there because it's like premeditated, like, oh, this if I do this weird thing, then I'm going to get something from it. Like it comes out so naturally. Sometimes in the past I tried to turn it off, like, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And now like, I remember my fiance at one point being like, don't ever tell yourself not to do that. She was like, be yourself up there. She's like, that's what I love about, that's what I fell in love with you about. And her telling me that, I was like, okay, well, this person is going to spend the rest of my life with me. Clearly, like they aren't telling me to do this because, we're trying to turn that off. They're being genuine about that statement. So yeah, I really, that's the part of it that I saw when we were at those beginning parts down at Ball State. And, I saw the power of music and how it was healing me at the same time. I was talking about having that job as an electrician and having a pocket full of money. Well, a pocket full of money isn't good for a guy who just wants to just spend that money frivolously, whatever that word is,
frivolously.
Just like, I'd be broke by Monday eating dollar McDonald's and stuff all week until I got that, $1,000, $1,500 paycheck at the end of the week, and then I just, and I wasn't responsible with it, and I wasn't being like good with it. And then when music happened and kind of like took over my life, I actually had gotten laid off, and it was kind of like a blessing in disguise type of a thing. I got laid off from that job, was able to collect unemployment, but that drove me to push this music thing. I was like, well, if I can collect this little bit of unemployment and kind of like really divulge a lot of my time into this music thing, then maybe I can make this music thing work while that still's going, and kind of keep those going.
Gives you that time to like actually invest. That's any kind of creative sort of endeavor. It's like, if you want to make that your living, you need like a little bit of buffer time to like
background,
build it up.
Backbone almost.
Yeah. Well, you need the backbone, but I mean like even just having that time to build it up to where you get that snowball rolling to now you can make a living. That's tough to do.
Yeah,
and
totally.
so if you're working a full-time job, it's like you got to be burning the candle at both ends to make it work. So that you kind of lucked out with that, being able to like have a little bit of time to get it going. So did you just like straight go into like, this is my full-time thing now?
I kind of balanced that out like a little bit. So like I kind of utilized that position as far as being able to do the unemployment and making pretty good money still with the unemployment. I kind of milked that to basically ran it dry and then was like, hey, do you guys need me again? And at that time they needed me. So I went back to work for like 6 months, got laid off again and established that unemployment. So I was able to do that for like 4 years and kind of hold on to that unemployment. But then, eventually was like, I'm not going back to it. Like there was something that happened there between me and another coworker. There was something that like, basically like I was seeing that downfall almost of like those people that had been working that job for 30 years, people that I was around that I was like, okay, well, you got nice houses, you've got kids that are older that you're going to be able to afford their colleges, you got all these things, but you're drunk, you're a mess, you're doing things that I don't want to be doing that. And I could see myself doing that. Like I could see if I continued that life that, I was going to do that. And so music kind of was one of those things that once again, I saw that it was, that it was healing me in a certain way. Like I wasn't able to spend the money that I wanted to spend on bad stuff. I didn't want to go out there. It wasn't available to do it. But so to be able to like, kind of have a life off of it. And like, that was part of making it too for me. Like once I got to that, people would be like, oh man, you guys are great. You should be making it. And at the beginnings, I was living with my parents. I was renting out an apartment with my girlfriend. Like, there was things in my mind, I was like, this ain't making it. This isn't making it. Yeah. And even though sometimes I would tell myself like, oh man, this is, you're living the dream. People would tell me you're living the dream. I was like, yeah, you don't know what the dream entails really. But like, it got to a point where I started really working at it to what I would consider to be making it. And that was to buy a house and to provide for my family and to like be happy myself, like not worry about what's going on monetarily wise, because I knew it was going to be paid for. Yeah. And so really what shifted with that was I ended up starting to fall into teaching. Oh, okay. And so I found that teaching, I could not have to go and ruin my hands, ruin my body, doing this thing. And, I honestly did like doing electrical work, but it was ruining my body and it was ruining my mind and it was ruining my life. And so teaching didn't. Teaching kind of was one of those things that I was like, I don't think I could do that. Be around kids, be around other adults, trying to influence them in a way. And it kind of was a little bit forced in my hand or like dropped in my hand and kind of unbeknownst to me. And I kind of gave it a try. And I really do think that like, we talked about the part of it with, helping these musicians, kind of grow and do these things. And like, that really was part of that process too, is like, I teach on Wednesdays, I teach, adults and young kids on Wednesdays. And then I go do that. And then I go do the jam nights and it's almost like hand in hand with it,
Do you teach at their house or do you have a location?
I have a business. Or? Yeah, there's a business that I teach out of here. In Crown Point, there's a place, and they have a location in Highland, which is their original location, but it's called HGS Music. Oh, okay, cool. And it's a good little studio. A lot of fantastic musicians teach there. I don't have to really do much scheduling. They take care of it for me. It's really kind of easy in that sense. Yeah. Whereas like I'm booking the band all the time. So I was like, I don't want to do any more scheduling, let them do it and take a percentage. So that's okay with me. I still get paid fairly good, for doing that. And that kind of provides that backbone for me to just like, whether I want a gig all month or not, I kind of have this money coming in that I know is guaranteed. And, or for the most part, I should say is guaranteed. You lose students, you get new students all the time and things like that. Yeah. But yeah, when I first started doing that, I didn't know what that was going to be like. I didn't know how that was going to be for me musically. And I had the luxury to play this one like open jam kind of a set with at this festival in like Central Illinois, and I got to play with Ray White and Ike Willis from Frank Zappa's band, and I got to play with a guy by the name of Reginald Wooten. Reggie is what he goes by, and he is the brother of Victor Wooten, who is like the fantastic bass god, I would say. Yeah, he's
Cool.
fantastic, and he's written a couple really good books that I would highly recommend if you, I'll send you links to him or whatever. But one's called The Music Lesson, and it's a very eye-opening book to like kind of the world of teaching, the world of acceptance, I would say, and the world of understanding music in a different light. Not maybe the corporate let me get my claws in you, Katy Perry, Justin Bieber type of world that people think that it is, you know, which really ruins people. He was the more open, like, be artist, be yourself, do it for you, do it for, And so in the beginning of that book, The Music Lesson, he pays homage to his older brothers. Victor does. He was one of the younger brothers in this family of, I don't know, I think four or five brothers. And Reggie was the eldest. And Reggie, he says that like, his brother knew so much, and him being in this young growing boy, like you could have a brother that is like, no, I'm not gonna teach you anything. I'm not gonna do this. Why would I, I'm jealous that you're here in this world. Mm-hmm. He was like, he taught me everything, and Reggie showed him how to do all this stuff, and they had this family band. And so he was able to blossom from that. And so I remember reading that book, and I remember reading that part at the beginning, and then being around Reggie. And this was like months before I was going to start teaching, or like maybe weeks even, because I knew I was going to do it. I had the job already, but I hadn't started. And I was like, hey, we had just done this big jam, played a bunch of these Frank Zappa tunes, and we were all hanging out after the show. We were all kind of, good stuff. And I just saw him, and I was like, hey, man, I was like, I really quick want to ask you a question. Just like, I'm about to get into teaching, and I was like, what would you recommend to a teacher, for the first time? And he was like, he looked at me like dumbfounded. He was like, well, what are you teaching? And I dumbfoundedly looked back at him like, dude, we just played this show together. I played violin the whole show. Like, what do you mean? What am I going to be teaching? You know what I'm teaching, right? And I was like, well, violin. He goes, no, you're not. And I was like, what? I was like, no, that's the instrument. He's like, don't teach. He's like, it's almost ignorant to think that a student is going to show up and the violin is their instrument. He's like, teach them the love of music first. And from there, they will accept whatever instruments, maybe all of them, but they'll accept that instrument a lot differently than they will if you're like, well, this is your instrument. Choose it. Pick it. It's yours. Now, don't, you want to go to another one? No, you haven't really focused your, you got to really get this one down first, And that was the way that I was taught. So I was kind of like confused to that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I was like, even to this day, I don't really want to pick up another instrument. Because I'm like, am I going to be good at it? Like, am I going to be good enough? I hear my teacher in the back, did you practice this week? In the back of my head. And I'm like, no, I didn't. Yeah. Should I do this instrument now? So I'm going to stick with the violin,
That's a cool way to look at learning music, because I do think that like a lot of it tends to be like institutional sort of for a lot of people, like when you're coming up in band class and stuff. Because like I played trumpet throughout middle school and high school, and the thought of playing another instrument never really even crossed my mind other than guitar, just because guitar was cooler than trumpet.
Totally.
So I was like, I want to learn how to play guitar. But I never really thought to like, I literally have no idea how to play drums. I tried one time. I was like, this is so weird. I could never do this. Piano, no clue how to play anything on that. But I mean, hell, I can barely even play guitar anymore, because I mean, I picked it up the other day and I was like, oh, okay, I can still play a little, but I'm so busy with work that I let it go by the wayside. I wish I want to get back into it a little more. I don't ever really want to play any shows. I was in a punk band in college at Ball State, the Syndicate. We played
sounds familiar.
We played a few shows in Muncie. We played one up in Detroit. We played in South Bend too, and it was fun, but we weren't that great because I mean, for me, all the Greg, don't hate me, but all the songs kind of sounded the same. Greg wrote all of our songs, and I could never like. I would even talk to Matt, our bassist. I'd be like, "Wait, is this one or is this that one?" He's like, "I don't know. They're both the same." Yeah. I was like, "Oh shit."
That's kind of how punk works out sometimes.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. But it was fun. But I had no stage presence. Yeah. Like I was just standing there, like staring at my guitar, playing, not moving at all. I was so stiff. So it's definitely something that like I wish I had gone to like open mics and stuff and learned stuff, like learned from other musicians. Yeah. And that wasn't even a thing that ever crossed my mind. Like I don't know if they had open mics in Ball State or not, but I never even thought about going to an open mic. I really just like to play kind of by myself most of the time, and then I just kind of fell into that band because before the Syndicate, it was man, what were they called? The $2 Pints.
Okay.
And it was a ska band, and they had a horn line, and they played a lot in Muncie. And basically, I think the horn line was like graduating or something, and so they kind of just, dropped Andy. No, they dropped the horn line and brought me in on, like, I guess, lead guitar. And it was fun, but like I said, we just weren't very good. And I probably should have practiced more outside of, like, I would practice during our band practice, but I didn't go home and practice it. And that was the big problem. So I think that we had a couple decent songs, but most of them I had a hard time remembering. I couldn't remember them today. Definitely not.
Yeah.
But as far as like just playing other instruments, I kind of wish that I was sort of brought up playing like a bunch of different instruments, like how Ken was telling me, like he learned drums from Rock Band of all things. That's so weird. But just playing like everything, I think it probably does make you maybe a more well-rounded musician. But it seems like you're doing pretty good with just the one. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to be more well-rounded. I think, you know, I do have an acoustic guitar. I probably should play it more. You know, I kind of thought about that honestly last night. For some reason, it was just like I need to do that more. This, you know. It seems to happen around the new year for whatever reason, but Ken is I saw a show that he did when he was releasing his CD thing, and you know it was he had a full band. He had our friend Jonathan, who's a fantastic bass player and kind of up and coming musician in the area, and I would say, and then he had his normal drummer, which I'm having a hard time remembering his name, but still, like he was on the keyboards. Like he had produced this visual thing. Like it was very like immersive. And like, I was like, you know, of course he was doing his rapping stuff, but they had costumes. They had like just a lot of stuff going on. And, it's, you know, I think it made him very talented, being well-rounded with all that instrumentation. But yeah, I think the same thing with the guy, like I said, with Ian, who writes a lot of the stuff in Fresh Hops, and you know we recorded our latest album. Now this is something that's kind of like, I don't know, we've had it sitting around for no joke like 4 years, and it's just kind of like it's a concept album based on on like relationships and the cycle of life, kind of basically in that sense, like how things can start great and then they don't be so great, and then, you know, but then it kind of revamps itself around and you can find that new coming or whatever it is. And so it's this crazy, it's a fantastic album, bunch of really good stuff on it, and a lot of the time was spent by Ian, who again wrote all the songs and had the kind of the first ideas or whatever, but he would like go back after all the main parts were done. Pretty much the drums were done by somebody else. He plays bass, so he would play all the bass parts. The guitars were done by somebody else. Vocals were done by both of us, but like he would go back and he would spend hours upon hours. I would sometimes wake up, the studio's in the back of my yard. It's a whole nother like house. And his car would still be there, and the sun would be coming up. I'd be letting my dogs out to go to the bathroom. I'm like, man, he is still cranking away on that album. And, you know, so the thing is like sitting there, and it's fantastic. And, you know, like the people that have had the opportunity to listen to it are like, wow, this is really something that's special. But like, for some reason, we haven't really gotten around to just getting it out there. We always say that we make this joke that when we die, then it'll come out, and people are like, don't say that, please don't say that. But it's kind of like, we've had people pass in the time that we started it, and that have been involved with us. We've had, relationships have come and gone. It's just kind of one of those things. And that happens after 4 years of sitting on something,
Sure.
But
Is it that you just don't think it's finished, or is it that you're nervous to release it, or?
I don't know how. So from like when we first started doing it, vinyl was really kind of taking into, and the idea was to put it on vinyl and to have this thing on vinyl and have our first record, something come out that we could push. But then 17 songs later, like an hour and a half of material, vinyl only handles so much. I'm like, man, we're going to have to give like a 3 or 4 pressed vinyl. That's going to cost like so much money, and maybe that's still the way that it'll happen. I'm not sure, but a lot of it also was just we continued in the band. When we play shows, we do good, but we only really take certain amounts and put certain amounts back with the band. Over those years, things happened. We bought things, trailers, went on tours.
Pandemic happens.
So things got, and we paid during the pandemic. We got paid. That was one of the things that kind of made sense. Is we did a lot of live streamings that helped us, but we split that money up, and then on top of that, we also had band money for a lot of the shows that we got paid for. With deposits or whatever it was, we were able to keep those. We were able to still pay the band and such, but that kind of dwindled a lot of that other end of the band. And so just getting it mixed and mastered and all these things, which is costly, it just hasn't been there quite, as easily available, I should say, monetary wise. So, but I think there's also that hesitantness to what you also said of it. Like, do we really think it's done? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like I told Ian we rehearsed last week, and I was like, I got an idea of someone we can do to mix and master it. And he was like, well, I want to listen to it again. And I'm like, you've listened to it 100 times, and I love it. And it's his thing. And, it's still with our band and all that. But like,
I think that's how James kind of felt with his new EP that he just released. Yeah. He was like, I've been sitting on this for like a couple years now. It's like, I got to release it now or never.
Yeah.
So at some point you got to release it.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I know that. I know like someone more recently told us, a friend of ours who comes and sees us a lot, that we have a tune called The Wolf, and it's kind of more popular amongst people and things of that nature. And they come and see us, and they changed it to Moon Horse for some reason. They were like, this song now name is Moon Horse. So we were like, okay. And every once in a while when we see him out in the crowd, we're like, next tune is Moon Horse, Nice. And so they were like, if the album's not out before the 3rd month of the new year, they're like, you have to change the name of the wolf to Moon Horse. And I was like, I'll tell Ian about that. I'll put that in his, throw that on his side of the court, see what happens. But it's hard to get in the way also of an artist who has something that they're passionate about and have put a lot of effort and a lot of heart into it, and say like, let's get this out. Although that's my job in Fresh Hops. It's always been that way.
Really?
Like Ian's such a creative person. I feel like I'm a creative person too, but he is ultra creative, like on so many levels. But when it comes to people who are creative on those levels, a lot of the times they need someone out there that's
give
like,
a push.
Yeah, let's do this. Like, hey, did you do this today? Hey, did you do that today? Did you do this for me? Did you, like, let's get that done, because it'll never get done. And it's not like maybe it's a character flaw for artists, but it's more of, I think, it's just the way it is sometimes with people.
It's kind of weird that you said it like that. 'Cause like for me, just being like a creative person, when I'm working on projects, I almost need a deadline to get it done. If I don't have a deadline,
it'll go on forever.
I just don't do it. Like I love filming, but the editing side, I don't really, that's not my favorite thing to do. No. Being on set and like figuring out just like all the little different problems that you got to solve and stuff. I love that. That's so fun. Just like figuring out how to like make something work with what you have and stuff. When you run into like different issues, that's why I love live streaming too. 'Cause it's so much troubleshooting on set. Every single time there's a different thing that goes wrong. And, what is there somebody here? But yeah, every single time there's a different thing that goes wrong with a live stream, and it's always just like something weird, like, oh, there's a firewall all of a sudden that like is blocking something. So I love that side of it, of just like figuring stuff out on set. But when it comes to the edit, that's like I'm sitting there on the computer for hours and hours, and I don't like sitting down and like not moving. I like to be active and moving around. So if I don't have a deadline, it's almost like I can't get the dopamine flowing to get it done.
Yeah.
And the deadline itself, especially when someone's like, hey, emails me, hey, is this, are you working on this?
Yeah.
That's when I just get like that flood of like dopamine, like, oh shit, I got to get this done. Like adrenaline, that type thing. I like live off the adrenaline of it needs to be done. So, like that, I can understand like that aspect of like need somebody else to like, hey, let's do this. Let's finish this.
Yeah. It has to be there. It has to be there in our case. And you know, it's a healthy balance. Like he talks about it, I talk about it. You know, we're both very vocal about it, and we joke a lot in our Catman Dog thing. So it's kind of one of the things. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of like a music energy vampire, just suppling him for all the good music that he's got going, and he uses me for the guy that drives him around from gig to gig and make sure he gets home safely. You know, that's just what our cohesive relationship bases itself on. So yeah, it's but I think just circling back around, he's so that's what the multi-instrument, thing, and that love for music and all that stuff, it shines through, and you can really hear it on the album, because he was raised in more of a less you got to do this music thing or else type of a life, like we were saying with Ken and Ian and, those people that are multi-instrumentalists and that such. So yeah, when Reggie told me that, when he was like, teach music instead of, the love of music versus that was like eye-opening to me. I was like, wait, I don't have to be overbearing violin teacher. Yeah. And so even now when I get new students, I had one last week that was brand new, 5-year-old little girl. Mom comes in the room with her, and, I give my whole spiel. Oh, this is the violin. Why'd you choose it? Blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, I'm just going to let you know I'm not like any of the other teachers that you have. I don't care. And the mom was like, what? What did you just
Horrified.
say? Like, yeah, like, this is the teacher that's good. And I'm like, listen, this is the way that I've taught. And I was like, you can, I have a good track record with it. Not only the track record of the students that I've been able to teach have gone and done other cool things. I have one that, now she's not playing violin down at IU, but she's doing marching band down there, and she's playing clarinet for the marching band at the IU Jacob School of Music. Wow. And, so but she took violin with me for many, many years. And I for many of those years, encouraged her to be involved in certain music things that were not violin based, and, but yeah, like, I would say that to that mom, that was like, she was like, what do you mean? Like, I was like, the more that I push this upon you and say you didn't practice this week and make you feel insignificant or something of that nature, is the moment in which, you're going to...
He always
puppy's getting stuff.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
interrupt. No, it's okay.
You.
Yeah, no, it's just like you're not going to get the best response. Like students will show up every week, whether they've practiced or whether they haven't, because we're going to have a lesson. We're going to figure something out that is beneficial for this process, of your development, your music development. We're in this 30 minutes, whether it's just going over what we worked on last week, or whether it's learning something new that can help you be a better musician this week with it. That's the way that, that's how this good process is going to be, versus me being like, oh, again, you didn't practice. What's wrong with you? Why are you here then?
Yeah.
And
how did you learn? What? Come here. Go in the other room. Okay. Oh, he's got his toy.
Oh, perfect.
Give me that. Andy, we're trying to have a conversation here, okay?
You are cute and all.
So how did you learn violin? How did you get into the music?
So really, it was kind of a process that when I was younger, and I probably still have it still to this day, but I actually know I do. But let's like the ADD was a thing that was very prevalent, and I was like a 5-year-old boy that was bouncing off the walls, and my teacher suggested my parents take me to see a doctor and help me try to focus. And so I was put on whatever the Ritalin, I believe it was, at 5 years old. Wow. And for the first week of it, I was miserable.
Yeah.
I was not sleeping right. I was, chewing my fingernails down to the bone. Like I was not me. And so I remember going back to my mom and being like very, very emotional about it, being like, this is something that I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't be having to take this. And so they suggested at that moment that they, luckily the doctor also had this other attitude to it, was like, okay, fine, he doesn't want to do Ritalin. Well, let's figure out what are the things that are causing him not to sleep at night. Let's figure out the things that are causing him not to like waste the energy that he has that is like causing all these issues. And so that's what it was, that it was, basically music was one of the things to be involved in, and my brother was kind of the start to that. And then there was we were in an after school math program called Kumon.
Hang on, give me 1 second. Andy, if you're gonna be wild like this, you gotta go in the other room. Come on. All right. For those at home, Andy was acting pretty crazy. He wouldn't stop barking. He's got the ADD too. So
That's right. He needs to get violin lessons.
So you actually had a doctor that actually wanted to push for alternatives.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because like you don't see that. Usually doctors are just pill pushers.
Right. And they were, and that's how it started, but it was like so evident that I didn't want to be a part of it, and like that they were going to lose me as a client, had it been, which probably they were okay with. But at the same time, like, I think my mom had been involved with this person because she was a nurse in Crown Point and things of that nature, and that's where we were going. But yeah, it just was something that like, you got to cut these sugars out. We were being given, ice cream after dinner, a pop with dinner, and those are chucked full of sugars and caffeines and all this stuff.
Don't make anyone crazy.
Yeah, and so of course I'm staying up till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, sneaking downstairs watching The Simpsons, stuff like that. But yeah, it was suggested that something active. So I was taking karate. I was doing this math program, which was also furthering the brain. It was like a speed math program. Basically, they gave you these books and you did this stuff. It was all timed, and then the other thing was the violin. And I was given the violin because my brother, he chose that one. My parents kind of chose it for him, but it was like, you need to learn an instrument. Which one do you want to do? And kind of went to a bunch of different musical things, and orchestra was one of the last ones. And my brother was like, well, violin, whatever, and so he got one, and naturally, as like a brother who was like just a little bit more than a year younger, I wanted something of that nature. So I got, I was like, I'll get a violin. And it kind of started from there. And I had 2 younger sisters, and once they got old enough to start learning music, they started doing it. And so really my parents then at that point kind of saw something that I didn't see and wasn't very privy to, but they were. And that was that if you take 4 young kids and have them play weddings and have them do certain things, like you could rake it in,
Oh, really?
And so, I did a lot of different things as a kid, performance-wise, that eventually ended up helping me purchase my house,
Wow.
when I went to go buy a house. And so it was kind of like I had worked many weekends, most months of the year, once they put, my sisters and my brother and I were able to put this like quartet thing together. And so we were doing that quite a bit. And eventually, it became kind of, classical music in general became a burden for me. That's what I was trained.
Okay.
And so classical music became a burden for me, not only in the aspects like we were talking about it, but just being a perfectionist. But just in the side of it that was like, this is boring. I don't like playing all this old people's music. I mean, it's just kind of even the same thing to this day I was saying about the cover band thing that I'm kind of, we play original music in Fresh Hops. I don't really want to like copy or plagiarize somebody's full album. Pink Floyd, Grateful Dead, Led Zeppelin. I don't want to. That doesn't seem like something that I'm like cool. Like I got all the violin parts down for these Prince tunes. Like no, that's boring. That's really boring to me. I want to come up with my own stuff. And so I remember at a certain point when I was younger, like being able to, I broke away from having my mom in the room when I would do my practicing. She was like, fine, I can trust you to do this. And so I would practice for a little bit because I knew that my teachers were going to be like, you didn't do, could tell whether I had done it or not. But I was also spending most of my time jumping on my bed, improvising, like entertaining myself with this instrument and like finding that also to me, that there was something there. The same way that when I would go pick up the video game controller and play Sonic the Hedgehog and I would just get lost in the video game, I could find myself lost in the music the same way.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I did see it as a kid how beneficial it was. As I got older and had the opportunity to take it to college and, I had potential to, go to the Jacob School down there in Indiana at IU, and the bill for that was too much for me to become a classic violin player. I was like, no way. There's no, like, why would I do that? Put effort into something that doesn't make any sense for me. Yeah. I don't like doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, and that another blessing in disguise, I guess. It was me not signing up for that and going into the field of the trades, back here in Northwest Indiana, and just like I started to, after a while, like I was saying, going down to Ball State and seeing that difference, the violin crept its way back into my life. It was like, oh, well, music's cool. Wait, what do you mean? Like, I can attract ladies from this thing, like potentially, like not to say that that's like, I mean, my fiance is maybe the one true one that, saw me and was like, I like you for this thing, and like, I was like, cool, like I like you because you're good looking and you seem to have it all together and, you're a good person and all these things. And so, but yeah, that was the fallacy behind, there's no like, you're not getting laid all the time in the band thing. It wasn't happening, but people were more, you were the center of attention a little bit more. Like you were a little bit more paid attention to, and like, I kind of liked that. When you put a microphone in front of me, in this aspect, I'm going to talk, but like on a stage, I'm saying some crazy things that like, I'm not saying maybe all the time, not crazy, like inappropriate or like maybe inappropriate, but like not crazy as in like fun. Offensive. Yeah. Just like kind of like things like mostly talking smack about myself or, things, that other people can kind of relate on. That's like joking, making jokes that pertain to myself, but that they may feel themselves too, but it's based on me. This is what I'm an idiot. I'm this, So you didn't go to,
you didn't go to college. Did you go to college at all?
I didn't go. I went to maybe one semester at Purdue Cal. I went to one semester, hated it.
Did you play violin in high school and stuff?
I didn't. I played violin in high school. No, it was mostly just classical. And
so it was like on your own, like private lessons and stuff.
Yeah.
And you never actually went into the orchestra at school?
No, I was involved with a couple. So Lake Central was where I went, and Lake Central actually didn't have an orchestra program.
Oh, really?
And
interesting.
And so
that's such a big school.
I know. My mom fought for it for many years, believe me, because I went
to Maryville. They had orchestra and band there.
Yes, they do. Yeah, I teach some of the kids from there. And cool. It's, Lake Central didn't have it. They said that, you would have to start it in 5th grade and get it going. Wow. They didn't have the backbone, or they didn't have that kind of a thing for it.
Interesting.
That kind of build it up like that.
You were playing like, you were making money off of it since you were a kid, basically.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, so
I learned kind of from a young age, and I didn't
basically like ahead of anybody who would have been in an orchestra in high school, anyways. So
I might like again. I give that all to my parents because they saw that, and I mean, I people are like, or like I give credit to the fact that like it did show me that there was that potential to it. Like I did see it as a job almost, I saw the checks being handed over to my dad at the end of these things. Like there was times when like we weren't really like the gift giving family. Like Christmas time was more religious than it was anything else. So like, I paid for most of my own things. Like I mentioned having Sega, and I bought that. Me and my brother split that. We bought that together, and then we would buy our own games and play those games with money that we would get from playing these gigs and things. And
That's awesome.
I really kind of grew to like understand that, but after a long time of doing it, I did break away from it. Like I think I had potentially like kind of hurt my mom in a certain way because I was like not wanting to further the violin to college.
Yeah.
She thought it would have been helpful for me or something of that nature, but it wasn't. It like I knew that it wasn't going to be. I knew that school wasn't the right thing for me, and I was just going to waste money.
Yeah.
But also that like like I said, the classical thing, I wanted to be different. I wanted to do my own thing. I was already doing improv, just making up these almost like classical songs on the violin, but doing it, in my own way and liking it. And like, again, finding like solace and like going into the zone in it, and coming out and being like, oh, wow, that was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really kind of pay homage to the fact that like, there was the jam scene in Northwest Indiana. Once Fresh Hops kind of came, our drummer Kevin moved back into the area from Ball State. He had graduated and he kind of came back, and he we started kind of like doing more stuff around here in Chicago. We still branched out down to Muncie and Indianapolis and Terre Haute and Lafayette and all those places in Indiana. We were going everywhere pretty much in the Midwest a lot of times, but we were given the opportunity to host this. There was a local guy by the name of Scott Larson, and Scott was...
Oh, I've heard of him. Is that the guy who passed away at Finnegan's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Scott was like very, very much so I would say, the person who showed us in the area, this is, this is a good thing. You can help kind of build some people up and show them things, but he was very open and accepting, and we saw that. Like I saw that and understood that that's something versus being cutthroat and trying to cut people down and to help build your own self up, which never works.
Yeah.
He was never like that. He would have always said, and I mean, I feel the same way, that like, I'm not the best musician. I'm very far from it. There's fantastic violin players out there, but you genuinely do something with somebody, you put your genuine thought and heart into that process, you're going to get a good product out of that, or at least it's going to feel better for you if you do it in that light versus going into it and be like, all right, man, is this going to work? Are we going to be able to make this work? Is this guy going to be able to hang? Like, just do what you do, and try to push that up out of those other people at the same time. And so again, I saw that and was like, wow, like this is the way this works.
That's really cool, that culture of like helping each other out and like pushing each other and stuff. 'Cause like in the video industry, I feel like for a long time, I was just so bad at networking. I never talked to other videographers. Like I got lucky that I got in at WFYI after college for like a year. I was doing freelance work for them. And when I moved back up here, I kind of lost touch with all the videographers down there, and I didn't know any videographers around here, and I didn't actively seek them out for some reason. I don't know why. I just never even thought about it. I was just like in my zone, like I'm going to put my head down and just work and just like figure this out on my own. And then like a couple of years ago, I met the guys over at Real Video Production who are in the Square in Crown Point now, but they were Rhoda Films at the time, and they had this like mentality of like networking and like bringing all the videographers together and stuff, and that like kind of changed my mindset on things. And I was like, oh yeah, networking is like really important. I should be talking to these people. And so when I started networking and like started doing stuff with Real Video, that's when I started like my business started taking off. It was because now I'm actually talking to these other people and bouncing ideas off of them, but also like when there's a gig they can't do, they send it my way. When there's a gig that I can't do, I send it their way, stuff like that. So I got a buddy out in Glen Ellen, I think is where he lives, but his name is Max Williams, and he's like the #1 music video live show stuff guy, like in Chicago. Like he's the head of So Far Sounds, like the video side of it in Chicago, and he films like a ton of shows. And I don't even know. Well, I probably met him because of skateboarding. Oh, I do know how I met him. So Tasso, my buddy, we used to, we got the skateboards back here. You see him. So Tasso me and him used to film these videos, and we submitted some of our skate videos to these kind of like a what do you call it? Not really a competition. Well, sort of like a competition for skate videos of like who has the coolest video, basically. But it was in Chicago at one of the universities. I can't remember which one, but it was downtown. And I'm really bad about knowing the schools and stuff in Chicago. It might be
Roosevelt or Columbia.
It might be Columbia.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know which one of those. And I think I met Max there, and he was kind of like fresh out of school at the time, and so he was like asking me questions about things, and because he went to Columbia, and somehow he just started asking me like a lot of questions, and I started bouncing, giving him all the insight that I had, like everything that I could think of to like tell him tips and tricks. And now I'm asking him tips and tricks on things because he knows way more about social media, maybe because he's a little younger than me. He's I think he's like 29. So he's like 5 years younger than me. And I don't know that much about social media. And when I started this podcast, I was like, I got to ask him more. And so he's like giving me tips on like how to make the podcast more interesting and more engaging, and like do the edits in this way and so like the collaboration side of things, like that's super important, I think, in anything you do. But that's almost, I feel like, rare with the as far as like the music scene goes, just to have such a nice like not only just a group of musicians that are like willing to do it, but to have all the venues that are like willing to host these like open mics and stuff that. Like, what are some of your favorite venues in Northwest Indiana for all kinds of music?
Yeah, I would say that there's a handful of really good venues in Northwest Indiana, that are putting out really good music, and again, on both levels. Just rooms in general is probably what I'm speaking on, because a lot of those rooms are doing the cover thing, but production wise is part of this. And I would say, off the top of my head, the Hobart Art Theater's always done really well. And has always provided a really good room and such for us. In fact, we did a local music showcase last year with 3 local bands, and it did really well. It was like one of the first weeks of the summer in Hobart they do this big like country jam thing. It's like brings in so many people, and it's huge and all this stuff. And so they were very happy that with our turnout there, because we were completely different of a thing. So I was like, yeah, of course, like half of Hobart and Maryville and all these certain areas are going to this one thing, but like our friends aren't involved with that. So they all moseyed on into this, and it really worked out. So they were very happy about that and wanted to do that again this upcoming year. So we'll see if that happens again. But yeah, I guess like other places like Northwoods there that we just had reopened. I saw that you shot that. I saw you shot that Lauren Dukes video there. That was kind of something that was like, I actually told the guys, I was like, man, he does, versus the other people that we've seen do that. Like, if we're gonna do it, George is the guy we're gonna go with from now on with that kind of a thing.
Thank you.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's just quality work, and she sounded great. She looks great when she does what she does, and her band looked really great, and that room was, But so yeah, we work with one of the sound engineers that's over there, Derek Sawyer.
I wish I had gotten more shots of the audience. Yeah. I'm a little iffy on it, like, because the audience was, with the Lauren Dukes one, the audience was really up and dancing and everything, but I was scared to film them because I was like, if I film them, with this big camera that I had,
Are they
gonna stop
freeze up?
dancing
Yeah.
and go like, I didn't want to ruin her set in that
right.
sense.
You're
So,
like, I don't want to do this.
yeah, I almost think like if I do it again there, I want to maybe set some cameras facing out towards the audience, so that like they don't know they're being filmed.
Yeah.
Not that like I'm trying to like make them look bad or call them out or anything like that. It's just people get nervous when they know
absolutely.
they're on camera. So
Yeah.
especially dancing.
Totally.
I mean, I film a lot of weddings, and like when I'm filming the dance floor,
floor
they're
is-
like, I don't know. And then I shut the lights off and they can't see me anymore. So
They're like,
yeah. So yeah, like, but Northwoods is so cool because the lighting setup is so awesome. Like with the going down the pillars and stuff. Like there's no other place that has such a cool lighting around Northwest Indiana, at least.
Yeah.
But that sound guy was awesome to work. What would you say his name was?
The sound guy, one of the guys that works there is Derek Sawyer. And we do a holiday show every year. We're doing it again this year, and he's ran it for the sound for us for the last like 4 years. He's very good. It's like, they bring in, cover band stuff, which, whatever, but their production of that place, fantastic. We did, the last 2 years there, we've done their St. Patrick's Day thing. I think they're going in a different direction this year with it, but that's fine. We shot this one picture though a few years back where we were all laying like on they had decorated the stage like crazy for St. Patrick's Day. They had like a blow up rainbow with the pot of gold on the one side where the drums riser, which is very prevalent there. And then they had the whole stage had like green streamers, and like these crazy, like just like decorative St. Patrick's Day, like ball light things. Like it looked so cool. And we ended up doing like, we tend to have weird things that we do on stage. So it happened to be that like I just started to lay down and like play my violin like while laying on the ground, and the rest of the band pretty much all just laid around. And so there's this picture shot by our friend Angel of this, like, it's just this epic shot. Tommy on the drums back there, big old blow up rainbow. We're all just laying there playing our instruments, and we use this picture forever, and it's on that stage. And I'm telling you, I would send that promo picture to places, and they would be like, this is the coolest looking picture. They're like, where is this room at? Where is it? Awesome. So yeah, they do a great job with that. Avenue 912, those guys.
Who's the? I think.
Gosh, the Hobson. One of the guys is Hobson from.
The guy. I think it's something Murdoch or something.
Oh yeah.
I talked to him about doing some work for them. But he was actually more interested. He was like asking me, how do I get bands to come here? And I'm like, it's not my specialty.
Yeah.
I just make pretty pictures. I mean, I do the marketing side of things of like getting it out there to the people who like want to come see the bands. But as far as like finding bands, I'm the wrong person to ask about that. So I mean, maybe I should send them your way because everybody.
Don't send them my way. I'm going to send him all original music, and he's not going to like it.
But it seems like they picked up since then, because that was like last year that they
got a pretty nice stock schedule.
I
saw that recently.
It is a lot of cover bands, it seems like, but. That is, I think the reason why cover bands have gotten so much more popular is because a lot of those older bands just aren't touring anymore.
Right.
I just had...
it's nostalgic, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like yesterday I had... yesterday or the day before, I had a Jimmy Buffett cover band ask me to do... I guess Jimmy Buffett has like something playing on the screen all the time, but he passed away, I'm pretty sure. And they wanted me to make something to like put on the screen behind them, because they're starting to play at bigger venues, and they're trying to make it like like that. But they're not sure. He told me that they're not sure if they're gonna need that or not. But he was talking about like some of the venues also want like video of the band put up on the screens. And that's something that I've started doing since the pandemic. I got really into live streaming.
Yeah.
So I have a 6-camera wireless live streaming setup. So I can have cameras on the stage and stuff. And I'm in the back live switching it and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've done some where I've sent that feed up to the screen. And that was super cool because I remember thinking like, how do they do that?
Yeah.
How do they get like, I always thought, I mean, probably for most big venues, it probably is a gigantic crew doing that.
Oh yeah.
But for me, I do 1-man band and I'm doing I do 6 cameras by myself and I put them on sliders. So those videos I was showing you where there's that movement. So it's like a slider of it moving back and forth. And so I can basically, because I'm not in those giant venues yet, I decided I don't have the budgets to hire extra videographers, so I'll just hire robots to add movement into all these different shots, and then I can just kind of run it myself. But getting into like that, the side of like visuals for live is interesting to me because I never really thought of it like going into that side of it, and just seeing like there are some venues and it's getting, I think, easier to do things like that with the technology. So I think even the smaller venues, you're going to start seeing things like that, having screens and stuff. Because projectors are so cheap these days. Like I think some venues could probably benefit from that. Maybe even the Hobart Art Theater. I think I don't know if I've ever seen them do that, but I think they could benefit from it.
Yeah. Setups, I think their setup might be, I mean, it's not like the biggest room. I feel like that's almost I mean, it's cool. Like I love seeing it no matter what the aspect is, but I think in there for like the Hobart Art Theater, it's
not enormous.
Well, it's not. Yeah. And it's like, there's not really like, because of the way that it actually like the floor goes, it starts tall and then goes down. It is that like theater aspect. So the people in the front, you really don't get a bad show as you go up.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like the utilization of that is for a venue that like you're in the back and you really can't see the band. So there's the band right there. You know? And like that kind of helps. But yeah, I think anybody can really help, you know.
Yeah.
It looks professional. It's awesome.
In September, I went and saw Megadeth at the Plymouth Motor Speedway.
Okay.
Which is like crazy that they would play there. It seems so weird. It's in the middle of nowhere.
I was going to say,
like literally in the middle of the cornfields. And I tried reaching out to them like, hey, I can
do this.
I can like film this and stuff. Yeah. And they did not have any screens. They had no screens with close up. I was in the nosebleeds so far back, like I couldn't see anything on stage. And I was like, man, I know the tweeter or whatever it's called now. They will put the close-ups on the screens. And I was trying to get in contact with them. I messaged them on Facebook and I was like, you know, I specialize in this live streaming and stuff. Like I can send you a feed and everything. And they just like replied with a thumbs up. I was like, fuck, what? That's me.
Yeah.
Like, don't even reply if you're going to do that to me.
Yeah, the thumbs up is probably the most disrespectful thing. Even though it's not. It's just someone being like, I've had people be like, don't do the thumbs up, man. Like it's like very
I'll do it to my friends just to let them know I saw their text, but I can't reply now.
Yeah, but do you know how they feel about it? That's the real question. Because they're going to see that and be like, damn, George.
I have one of my friends, he definitely like thinks that I'm being an asshole about it. And I've talked to him.
Really
I'm like, no, dude, I wasn't trying to be an asshole. Because my other friend, we have like a joke about it. Like you can make the thumb bigger, so we just send it back and forth till it's enormous. Yeah. But
that's great. Yeah, my girlfriend uses stickers. She just puts stickers on like on conversations now. Like, and they're great. Like she makes these really cool, like with the iPhone, you can just like swirl them out and add motion to them. I've got a couple cat ones where my cat looks like he's playing the violin just because
you can make them custom stickers.
Yeah, you can do these like strange.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll show them to you.
I need to do that.
Yeah, you just take a picture and you rub it around or do this, like circle it, and it takes that image, removes it the background, and then you can add a sticker, and it like, and it's really cool. And like you can add effect to it, so you can make like almost like a holographic looking
that's
sticker.
Neat.
Yeah, it is really neat.
I love those kind of things because it just like adds an extra aspect to like your text conversation.
Totally.
You know, and it makes it funner.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's custom.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, here, and plop that sticker right there and do this and that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
So back to, there was something I wanted to talk about with the cover bands. Oh, yeah. So, like we were saying, I think that it is getting more prevalent because of the older bands not being around anymore.
Yeah.
But is there like this is something that I wanted to ask, and not just ask you, but ask other people, because the other musicians I've been talking to have kind of been saying this, bringing it up. And is there tension between bands who are cover bands versus bands who make original music? Is there?
I really can't even say that I know too many of those bands. You know, a lot of those bands are like, well, if they are, they're friends of mine, and like, you know, they're like, I guess for an example is I got a buddy who by the name of Pete Koopmans, who we went to grade school, or we went to middle school together and high school together, and then he was in a couple bands that were touring for a while all over the country, and both those bands like dissolved, but then he also became involved with this one out of Chicago called Family Groove Company that kind of, they're still playing it every once in a while, so he plays with them every once in a while, but he solely is in a band based out of LA, and he books for them. He's kind of works with this major booking company that books solely cover, I believe, activity with these cover bands and tribute acts and things of that nature. But they go by the name of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And so, and they've been around here quite a bit because he's got family out here and such. But, you know, he makes good money a night, and it's not like something, I'm not going to sit back and be upset with any of these people for making a living.
Yeah.
That's not the way that I see it. Is it something that I'm not going to do? Absolutely. Is it something that I rub shoulder, like if they're, you know, most of them, I would say I don't see them that often, like I said, but the ones that I do, like I still, you know, I'm very encouraging and hopeful that, you know, they're still making their own music, I would say. Like, yeah, go do that thing. That's great. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
But also, like, as a musician, maybe think about doing your own thing at the same time to help, you know, kind of balance that out. Like,
Yeah.
maybe you won't find, I can almost guarantee you'll burn yourself out playing these cover tunes, and eventually you're going to hate music in general. So
Yeah.
if you do both sides of it, and you're doing your cover side, and you're making your money, and you have your backbone, you have that, but you're also like producing this love of music that you still, you know, playing the instrument the way you want to, writing songs the way you want to, or just doing it, you know, in another facet, like that I think that together will keep you happier as a musician than just taking this one thing and going, oh, I'm going to just play these same songs over. You know, they ask actual musicians. I've heard this asked to real musicians like Red Hot Chili Peppers. Do you guys like playing that hit tune every night? Like, and they're like, not really, but we do because we have to. If I got to play the hit tune from the Red Hot Chili, for any of these bands every single night, I don't know how that's going to, it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't hate on it. I don't think that I, you know, would, you know, be mad at them if I knew every single, you know, all the different musicians. I would, you know, let them do what you're going to do.
Do you find that, like, so when it comes to like the covers and stuff, so in like a bar setting, like James Geddes, for instance, he's going to play covers and he's going to play his originals as well. That makes sense in a bar setting.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like, this is a cover band, people are coming to see just that music.
Yeah.
I don't think they really can play originals during that set, but I wonder, like, I mean, they potentially could, but I would be almost scared of like pissing off the audience.
Yeah,
just because they're coming to see that that type of music. But I suppose like they could do other, like, have other things on the side that they're also doing that's like, you know, not part of the same shows.
Just being creative, essentially, you know, like, and I mean, I don't know how many of them are out there doing that. I would hope that would be something for the longevity of their own musical, you know, just being a happy musician. Like I said, it's.
Do you know Benny?
Benny Boomba, yeah,
yeah,
of course.
He's in that Nirvana tribute band now, but I know he does a lot of his own stuff on the side as well.
He writes his own things, and you know, I mean, Benny's a great guy, and again, like I know everybody in the area is super happy for him. The same thing with we got a buddy, Will Wyatt, who's a fantastic drummer, who was like, Northwest Indiana isn't like, I want to do something. This isn't working. And for a lot of people, that's fine. Like, you know, if you can figure out a way to make it work here and live it and be happy and whatever, you know, that's fine. But if you can't and you want to uproot and try to do it, he's down in Nashville. And, you know, we're like, I'm super stoked for him, but I know I've heard it. The sentiment amongst people in the community are like, man, we're stoked to see Will doing this. We're stoked to see, you know, we're happy. I want to see my friends. If you're not that way, I don't know if this is the right like community, honestly, for you to be a part of. If you really think that, you know, you should be upset about somebody getting a better gig or a better job or a better opportunity or whatever it is, I don't know. You really need to rethink that, because yours will be happy for them, because yours will come around too if you are. Yeah. If you're genuine about it, if you, again, you know, have that thought that I'm doing this because I love it and it's not for anybody but me. Again, it shows, and it will eventually be tenfold what you don't expect of positive and opportunities and all these different things, you know, versus being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I hate this and I hate this and I hate this person, I hate that thing and I hate that. You can live your life just surrounded by that and enveloped in that, and then you're not going anywhere. Then you're not even, your own self is stuck in this, you know. So yeah, super happy for any of the musicians. There was a band around here for the longest time, did the same thing, that went by the name of The Diggity. And
I was literally just about to bring that up. Yeah,
and they're
Jake's down in
I drove by his house on the way here.
Yeah,
you know, I used to go over there and do some rehearsing.
I was literally just about to say, do you remember the Diggity? Because I used to go to all their shows. They used to play at the Hookah Bar.
Absolutely,
in Maryville. They used to play in Crown Point, which.
Amore, that spot that was now like Chicago Steakhouse, or there's like,
dude, those were cool shows, because they were like a jam band that just like they had set songs, but like some of those songs would just keep going and jamming and stuff. Yeah, that stuff was so fun. Like I remember at one point, I think they were losing Raleigh. Do you remember that guy? He was like their lead guitarist, and I was thinking about going to try out for him. They were asking me about it. Who's their drummer? Eric, I think.
Yeah, Eric. Yeah. And then, gosh, why can't I think of any of their names? Our former guitar player plays, Matt Van Vlymen plays with them now, but they had Alex was another one. Alex. He was a guitar player that like had, God, why can't I think of his last name? But they were all kind of like foresty guys. Like they were in the forestry programs and things. So he actually went up north and I want to say Wisconsin or Michigan or Minnesota and started going up that way. But yeah, they evolved and had, you know, player movement, and Kevin Cerny was one of their keyboard players for a while.
I know Jake Lashenik, he plays in a band called Pet Envy now.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say about that.
Do they still play as the Diggity sometimes? I mean, does he still have that band? I don't know.
So no, they do. I think, you know, I actually more recently got a call from Matt Van Vlymen, like I said, our former guitar player in Fresh Hops, but now he plays with the Diggity more. And we have a friend, mutual friend, Ian, who was kind of like pretty instrumental in the Diggity, like a good like sound guy or something, did some work with them. But do
you remember Marco was on bass?
Yes, Marco.
He lived right down the street from me. We rode the bus together.
Nice. Yeah. So Ian actually ended up with this, I'm pretty sure it's the same Ian. I should probably not say last name just because I may be saying the wrong one, but this Ian gentleman that, you know, he moved away at the same time, I believe, that the Diggity did or whatever, but he ended up, we just recently found out that he had cancer. And so the Diggity wants to do a benefit. And so they had a date. And so they kind of reached out. Matt had reached out to me and was like, yeah, Fresh Hops available for this date. We would love to have you do this benefit thing. And I kind of told the guys about it. So yeah, I think they're going to be coming at least back around for one show coming up here in the new year.
You gotta let me know when you hear about it because I want to go.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome.
And so I, even with that being said, they were very instrumental in the development of what I was doing locally, like coming back into the area with Fresh Hops, and like I said, with Kevin from Ball State, and kind of like having this home base being Northwest Indiana from it being down there. There was Groovatron. Groovatron was around.
I remember that. Yeah.
And they all these bands
Dude,
they really showed us that, like, you could do this.
Yeah.
You didn't have to be a blues band. You didn't have to be a cover band, and you didn't have to be. You could essentially write what you want and play what you want, and have something like come from it. Build something from it. And so we were lucky to have both. A lot of these different bands, but those two specifically be kind of the bands that, we played with a bunch. We,
nice. Because the Diggity played at One Earth, I remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we helped them get that gig.
I remember seeing them there and being like, what the fuck are you guys doing here?
Yeah, we were, we try to help out anybody, like.
Dude, one second, you know what? I think I might have some CDs from the Diggity over here.
Maybe collector's editions at this point.
I know. Oh my God! Look
at
right here.
That one. Yeah, not only a Diggity, but a burned Diggity.
Burned Diggity.
Go figure, man.
Let's see. We got the Diggity right there.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. I'd have to. Oh, it's so scratched up. It probably wouldn't even play. Let's see what else we got. These all just say guitar for George. This was stuff I think John Cabral was having me listen to learn some things. Hang on, I got actual albums.
Yeah, they that was another thing, just seeing them be able to produce albums. That was, we were like, a band can do this? Like, you could put out original music and a full album behind it. And they were very, the Diggity specifically were very, I guess, and Groovatron too, they were huge into like costumes and having stage designs and doing things like a certain type of a way. And that really kind of showed me also that too, which is really cool.
Man, where is it?
Oh, that's one of them.
Is.
Yeah.
Found it.
There it is.
All right.
I believe that was the latest one too.
Yeah, Out of the Woodwork. That was like their new one. I remember.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we got Jake Lashenik, guitar, banjo, lead vocals, and then we got Alex Bales.
Alex Bales,
guitar and vocals,
right.
And then Marco.
Sorry, Alex.
Marco Jukic, which was my neighbor, bass and vocals.
Jukic.
Yeah, and Vaso Stojic.
Yeah, Vaso. Yep, he was
percussion, vocals, and then Eric Conefall on drums.
Yep. And they had gosh, why can't I think of her name? But they, with Pet Envy, him and Shelby. Shelby is both him and they were in a relationship for a while, I believe. Jake and Shelby were, but then they both were the ones that moved down to Nashville and started Pet Envy, and kind of really, I mean, they were both just she was a fantastic singer, and they're just so artsy driven. It's such they can see it. They can it was with Jake, I could always, he's very intense in it.
Yeah.
But it was it was all because of the finished product.
Yeah.
And he wanted this perfect finished product, with a lot of times he would achieve,
Yeah, Jake's out there. He's a different, he's on another vibrational level. I remember when he was playing, he would always just have his mouth open and eyes closed.
There's very seeing that. You see a guy like that, and you, I've talked about this and really have come across, this whole aspect of it, which is, we've talked about it being for us, and that, and the musicians up there or whatnot. But the minute that you start playing and focusing that part of it, because a lot of times people will get up on stage and they'll try so hard to emulate cool. I'm cool. A girl will walk through the door and they're like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. I got to play to her. She's got to love me, and that's so crazy to think that that's what you're wrapping your music around for that thought. Just focus on the music.
Yeah.
If, again, I've stated this before, if people can see genuine they can see that. It's almost ignorant to think that they can't, you know? So if you're up there being like, I'm the coolest guy in the whole world, look at me, just check me out. They're like, he looks like an idiot. Versus if you're in that zone and you're doing that thing, you know, cutting the cool out, that really is so evident, you know? And I know, again, I've probably talked about that like 3 times here today, but I really believe that a lot of musicians have that problem, is that, or artists in general, that they get the opportunity to get in front of people and do their thing, and they're like, I have to be the coolest person in the room. And it's like, when did playing music become cool? Like, this is not, I thought this was the nerdy thing to do, you know? So, yeah, it's, Jake did, like, the guys from Groovatron, like, I used to watch them and be like, man, they look nuts.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are nuts. Nick Ferrer, who played guitar with us for the last couple of years in Fresh Hops, we were so lucky to have him. He more recently stepped aside. He just personal differences, like, you know, and things of that nature.
Did Groovatron play at One Earth?
Groovatron did at One Earth at one point.
Did they play in the tent?
Yeah, they played in the tent. It was a later night thing.
And
they had really bad sound. If I remember I don't remember
the bad sound, but I just remember the bassist just like jamming out.
Dude,
like he was so happy, just like. And I remember I couldn't stop laughing because he'd be like pointing out to the crowd and stuff. And
Tony
he
was
just like so into it.
Yeah, he owns he owns Manic Meadery now in Maryville or wherever that is over there. And I mean. Tony was Groovatron to me. Like, he was the driving force. The way that he played that bass, the way that he like had interacted with the bass playing. Like, don't get me wrong, all those guys made that band, but like when the sound of Groovatron was, when I was like, well, that's Groovatron, I could just tell by the bass tone. Like, I was just like, well, that's Groovatron. But yeah, every single one of those guys, as a growing up, seeing them in that way and seeing them not act cool towards it, I was like, whoa, you know, I didn't notice it at that point. I didn't really understand it at that point, but again, as I started playing on my own and saw myself doing that, saw myself seeing someone come through and being like, oh, I got to play to you, huh? You really got to like me. Like, that never worked. They didn't like me. I never ended up with that person. I never spent the night with that person. That person never became like attached to me. They were just like, cool. Yeah. They were like, that's cool, man. But
so like you said, bringing it back to, you got to play for the love of the music.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. If that's the key, if you can do that, then again, I think just for your own well-being, that's the part of it. Painters, and I mean, maybe that's the part of it with performative art that is different than, say, like someone who paints at home when they don't have like a crowd around them, an audience around them, is that like they're not held to like, you know, maybe the same thing. But yeah, I just think that when there's an opportunity to have, you know, to do something that is spur of the moment, like you're not going to probably, if it's not being videotaped or recorded, it's not going to be recreated ever again. Yeah. And so it's really like, if you're there to see it, you're there to see it. If you're not, you're not. But like putting, again, your own, the longevity of that seems to me to be, and it's felt better to me, I could say, over the times that I've kind of fallen into that.
He just runs away. That's what I've always felt like with the Diggity. Is like when you go to the show, that show is not going to be the same as any other show. Like it was always like different for every show, and like I think that's why like they got so popular around here. And like everybody, when they'd say, "Oh, the Diggity's playing," everyone's like, "Oh yeah, let's go. This is gonna be a fun time." It was like it was basically just like, you're going to party with those people, basically. You're going to party with the band. That's kind of the vibe I always felt off of it. So I love that style of just like getting the crowd going and just having a good time and stuff.
And with them and specifically, and with what you just said there, you know, no one music-wise, artistic-wise, like it doesn't make me a bigger person because I can play a violin. And never has. I feel like I've been around people who think that about themselves, you know, that ego thing that happens in music. I didn't necessarily feel that so much with people like Diggity or the guys in Groovatron, and, you know, being around them again and kind of growing up in their shadows and such, and with Fresh Hops and my musical development. It was nice to see that. It was nice to realize that like like I could actually like go and tell that guy after the show like how I felt about it, and he's not going to be like, okay, thanks, man, oh, that's cool, they're going to actually have a good conversation. Oh, really? Thank you about that. We really worked on that, and we I'm glad that resonated with you because we really wanted to give that a try, or like whatever that is that you're going to genuinity again,
Dude. Hey, come here. I know you're a hyper little pup. He's too hyper. We've been going for a while.
Nice.
I think over an hour. But dude, that speaking about like being able to like come talk to them after the show and stuff, like Jake would throw shows at their house in Hobart, which they had like a bunch of land and like a barn, and in the barn they do the shows and stuff, and afterwards it was just a party. You know, you just
we
hang
threw
out.
some of those first shows we did were like festival type shows. We used to do this place out in Valpo called the Hog Barn.
Oh, okay,
and that
cool.
was owned by our buddy Ken, and or he was renting it, I think, at the time. It was just a house that he was renting that had this old school, like long concrete hog barn, essentially, and it had been cleaned out, so it didn't smell like a hog barn anymore. And we kind of set up a stage on the far side, and the property itself was we would just like kind of line the property with cars and tell people they could camp on it. But yeah, it was like some of the first times, seeing that aspect of it, seeing, I talked about it down at Ball State. As soon as he put that drum set in that room and seeing how the response of people that just wanted to do something, that wanted just to be involved and like wanted to sit there and kind of lose themselves in the music, like, we were doing the same thing at the Hog Barn. We may have been like a weekend type of a thing, but again, they had that connection, and we ended up making that same connection after doing a couple of them with them and through them ourselves. And we also did things together, like these hop siggity parties and things like that. We would always do these things together, and again, they were kind of, it would be like a lot of Jake's ideas mixed with a lot of our ideas, and then he was very smart to that. He saw that us being a more new up and coming band, that like people were like pumped about us. So like he could utilize that. He was like, well, I'll get those people's fans to come see us. We've been doing this a while, but still, and we would do the same thing. All the people that come see you, now they're going to see us. And, so a lot of the different, they're from Porter County, edge of Lake County, Porter County kind of out here. And we were kind of Lake County, and, we would mix those two different groups together and, throw these huge things. And yeah, they were really evident, or instrumental in us seeing the power of that, and how you could do that.
Did you ever know Mike White?
Mike White.
He played bass.
Okay.
He was Jake's sister, Beth. He dated her for a while in high school, I remember. But so Mike White, Mike Cameron, and
I know there was a Mike Love that they hung with too.
Oh yeah, there might have been. There's so many Mikes. Yeah. But so the Mike White, Mike Cameron. I don't remember who their drummer was, but they had a band called the Bolsheviks.
Okay.
And they did all. It was like a punk band, but it was all their own music that they wrote and stuff. And like I said, I was a audio major at Ball State, so like for my senior project I brought them down and recorded their album down there.
Nice.
But the teacher there, they had a student teacher who somehow deleted all of it except for one song.
Oh my gosh.
So it was so disappointing because their drummer left for the Navy the day after we recorded, so there was no re-recording.
Yeah.
So we got the one song, David. That's what it was called, and I still can like remember all the words to that song because it was such a catchy tune. Yeah. And we at one point. The reason why I brought this up was partially because of Diggity and partially because you were talking about the barn out there. So there was a barn. It's probably not the same barn as where you guys were playing, but it was, it had to be in like Lowell. Okay. In the middle of the cornfields. This guy we knew he was either renting the house or maybe he owned it. I don't know, but there was a barn out back and it had like a bunch of stalls and stuff. And we tore out all the stalls. We like basically stripped down the inside of the barn so that it was like a big open area. And we had a barn party, and anybody who was there will remember the barn party because there was like an upstairs area for people to chill in and stuff, and there was like a loft like looking out, like an opening, and we had a giant bonfire down there, and the flames were like up as high as like the top there, but downstairs we had the band playing, and there, like the people who came to this show, probably half of them were not even fans of punk rock, like they probably never really listened to it, but we had, I don't know, probably 100 people at this little barn party, and everybody got in the mosh pit and were just going crazy. I remember Robert Barnes, he used to play music too. He passed away. I don't know when, maybe 10 years ago now. It was a while ago, but I remember we were all just like jamming. We had a mosh pit going, and then Robert Barnes was just like this massive guy, like huge, and he steps out like the video game boss, just like, and we're like, oh shit! And then my buddy Art jumps on his back, and he just starts swinging through the pit, going crazy, and it was just so much fun. Yeah, and we only had the one band, so they played for like 3.5 hours straight. And I remember Mike's fingers were like bleeding from playing the bass and stuff. And like Cameron couldn't even speak because his voice was just done. Yeah. Yeah. So, but man, those kind of parties and stuff are just like so fun. Like a backyard show, there's nothing like that.
There's nothing like that. Again, that's really what the draw was to me for music. It was just this pop-up type of a thing. And I remember seeing it done in high school too. I was involved in a band in high school by the name of Thief, Theef, and we would I didn't play with them very long, and they ended up making a record without me, but they, it was just that aspect of it, like seeing that like we could do this, and it was just very instrumental, and what I ended up coming back around to doing, and what I still to this day love trying to help conjure up. I see somebody doing it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like you've got it. Like instead of telling them that they don't got it, and I'm a very huge proponent of this, side of it, that like you don't, like I want to make sure that I keep my doors wide open, my windows wide open, because if anything, say James down the road really gets a hit under his belt, last thing I want to be done is the guy that like told James that he can't do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be the one like, oh, I never really wanted to play with you because I just didn't really like what you were doing. You got great music. Why would I, bite my lip about that? Or why would I tell you anything different? To make myself feel better? Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's real fun.
Having an ego is never good for anything in life, really.
Keep those doors and windows open. Keep those bridges from being unburned.
Yeah. Burning bridges is not a good thing.
No, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. We always talk about not wanting to live. I can't afford to lose people, over simple things, music. If you don't like my music, that's one thing, but like, I really can't afford to lose fan bases is over being an idiot, being a drunken fool, being something that's not even, saying something that I don't necessarily am going to say if I haven't, if I'm in the right state of mind or whatever it is, so like not burning bridges. No bridges being burned, keeping those
definitely
built up.
Well, I think this was really an interesting conversation to hear this side of like the music industry, because your take on it has been different from some of the other people I've talked to so far. Like, I mean, probably because of the experience you have in it and just being here so long, but I really like the collaborative side of it that you kind of expressed. That, like, I mean, James did talk about that a little bit, but I didn't realize just how much you guys foster like the younger up and coming people and stuff like that's That's so cool.
Yeah, and we're real quick to the point, that jam night that we do at Doc's, it's an all ages thing. And I think that's probably the coolest part of that jam night. Don't get me wrong. The adults and the people that are coming out, like James and Jack and Aristotle and Ken and Kyle and all these people that have come out and done and built up their things, at one time they were younger too. But this is like, we've got a friend by the name of Josh Hanchar who plays bass, and he told one of his students, Angelo, and this kid's young, this kid's good, this kid's got a couple friends, buddies, they're putting together a band, and they get together, come out, the full band. They'll bring their full band to our jam night and play. And I'm like, they kind of use it as a practice, but they also kind of, and they're not of age to get anywhere else. Some of these other places like Finnegan's, they can't get in there. They can't get into. I know there's one out Hunter Brewing out in Valpo, out here in Valpo, and that's not an all ages thing, I believe. There's a lot of them that aren't, and so to be able to say, hey, we're doing this different thing, or we're doing the same concept that you're used to, but now we want that young high school kid, we want that young middle school person, we want that person that's like, Mom, can you take me to this thing so I can meet these people, so I can try to do this thing that I kind of love? And Mom's like, really? Okay, cool. Yeah. I'll get some barbecue, and
that's what sort of Ken was getting to. There's almost like a lack of venues that aren't bars. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Really?
Most of the venues are bars, which it kind of makes sense because you need to have a way of making money to pay for, musicians and stuff like that. But I didn't even know that Doc's existed until talking to you.
Yeah, so we try our best to get 90% of the gigs we play in the area, whether if it's us throwing them ourselves, like I was saying with the holiday shows, or with Doc's, that's like one of the top things on the list. Hobart Art Theater's the same way. It's all ages. When we go there, it's that if we can't do this, because they don't want that. They're like, no, we just want you 21 and up. We just want you 21 and up. And we're like, I get that. But this isn't Buddy and Pals. This isn't so-and-so's bar. This isn't whatever it is. This is a show. And I want a kid to get inspired. I want an old lady to think that she can come and it's not going to be a smoky hole in the wall.
Yeah. I remember when I was in that punk band and we were playing in Muncie. It was downtown Muncie. I don't remember the name. It was like the bigger place, bigger bar.
Doc's Herat?
I think, that was it. So it's called Doc's as well.
Yeah.
But I remember I was like 19 and I'm like on stage drinking beers and stuff.
Yeah. Doc's Music Hall. Shout out to Mike Martin.
Oh yeah, Mike Martin and the Beautiful Mess. Yeah.
He owned that for a little bit of time.
Yeah. Well, someone I went to, Karen, she plays violin. Do you know Karen? Okay. Karen Egan? She plays with
Mike?
Mike now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with her.
She was at Ball State. That's why I know her, is just 'cause she's actually from Northwest Indiana, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But she was going to Ball State. That's how I met her.
Nice.
And she made that her career. She went with the Mike Martin band, and that's like, the rest is history. But
yeah, I guess he's doing 2 nights down there at the Herat coming up.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's big. I know he was down in Asheville for a while and doing some things down there. And
I literally haven't been to Ball State since I graduated.
I haven't been there, I can say either that much.
2012?
Yeah.
It'd be cool to go back and see it.
I've got one of my fiance's coworkers, her daughter, is of age now or going to college, and one of her friends is down there, so she's always like, I'm always like, take 28 across the state. Don't go around it. I was always,
dude,
she's like, well,
28. I remember coming home one time with my roommate Danielle. We took 28 and it was a blizzard.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like, I think we were coming home for like Christmas break or something, and it was such a bad blizzard because you get the north-south winds, and that's going east and west. So it was so bad that we had to wait for the plow truck to go down it would go down like a mile, come back, and then we would follow it.
Yeah.
And like while we're waiting for it to come back, we had to like when it got back over to us, we had to get out of the car and like stomp down the snowdrift so we could get around the snow. And then we made it to like I-65, and after like literally 4 hours, and like, you know, all the state troopers are with us helping us all get there. And we get to 65 and they're like, we're shutting down the highway. Nobody's going anywhere. We had to, call my mom. I'm like, can I use that credit card you gave me for emergencies to get this hotel? Yeah. So, Ball State, those good times.
Yeah.
And crazy times just traveling there. But yeah, that'd be cool to go back and see Mike play.
Yeah, I don't know if he's living there or not, but I know he's doing that 2-night thing there for sure. Yeah, so
crazy, but
yeah, small world, you know, but same music world, you know, arts, entertainment world.
Yeah,
it's like not that small, really.
It's actually surprising that you don't know Karen, being that she plays the violin with Mike.
It's kind of strange. I mean, I know I've seen, like, if she was down there then, I knew I've definitely seen her play. I know I've seen posts. I think she just made a post about her more recently.
I don't know for sure, but I think she was going for like some kind of violin performance.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she like, I lost touch with her, but I don't know if she finished school or if she just said, you know what, let's just go tour, you know?
I'm not sure.
Because I know at some point they just like decided to tour, and they were touring around for a while, like in the band and stuff. But you guys have you guys done a lot of that? Just like the van life?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I don't think do as much, like, well, we do it as much as we can, I guess I would say. We try to travel more than we try to stay and play local. You know, that's kind of our, you know, we understand that, like, if you can head down south and play Indy and, you know, play Louisville, play, you know, kind of come back around, hit St. Louis, hit Southern Illinois, you know, you can kind of mosey around in that area. And, you know, being from Northwest Indiana, actually, kind of something I was going to mention earlier. A lot of people will talk, you know, ill about it or whatever it is. I've always found that travel-wise, this is the best place in the whole United States. I can get within, let's say even bigger, like within 6 hours of here, I can be in so many different markets. College-wise, it's huge, but city-wise, the market is huge. And so, you know, that is something that I'm kind of still got the ADD thing going on, so I can stay up all night, and I'm usually the guy who drives. So like if there was a thing where I needed to drive through the night back home to get to another gig or whatever, 6 hours isn't nothing to me. That's like, okay, cool. By the time I'm done with that 6 hours, I'm ready for bed. You know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm good.
That's how I am. I got the ADD too. They had me on Adderall for a long time and stuff, but I got off that in my 20s. But I recently I was out in Colorado and I drove 22 hours straight home. Nonstop, just stopping for gas.
I did that same thing last year myself. Yeah, we had to play a wedding out there, and then I forget what the whole situation was at why I did it. I think it was only just the comfortability of it. I'm very much so a control freak when it comes to being in the van and driving. The insurance is also in my name and the van is also in my name. It all helps keep the cost down for things. So really that's the main mentality or the thought process behind why one person should be the one versus having 4 guys' names with 4 different driving records on 4 different insurance things. And, you know, so, but yeah, I did the same thing. We played this wedding, played a night in Denver. And then the next morning we woke up at the hotel and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And my mind was like, you got it. And by the time we hit Southern Illinois and we're hitting 55 or whatever it was that we were shooting up or, you know, heading back towards the area, and it was done by that point. I was like, I got this, you know.
They call it the armpit of America here, but I mean, it's nice because it's the crossroads, you know. We got all of the different highways all converged together, like right in Northwest Indiana. Yeah, so
for sure. And I mean, you said it yourself, 22 hours to Colorado. Like if you did 22 hours.
Well, that was to the far side. I mean, you can get to Denver in 15 hours.
For real.
I mean, I've done it in 15, but
you got to just I hope Nebraska doesn't get you. But yeah, you know, it's say the same thing. If you drove 10 or 12 you could be all over the East Coast in that time. You know, I mean, I go down down to we just drove down to Asheville this year and did that. And
I drove to Boston straight. Me and my buddy, me and my buddy Art, like we hear just. I don't know if it was like a weekend or what, but my buddy Tasso, we were in our mid-20s, and my buddy Tasso was like, oh yeah, we're on this skate trip out in Boston. And I was like, Art, let's go right now. Yeah. And it was like 6 p.m. And he's like, what do you mean right now? I was like, yeah, grab your shit. We're going right now. And we just left, and I drove 15 hours straight, and we went straight to the skate park and went skating, and no sleep or nothing. Yeah. But Art's also a night owl like that too. Yeah. Like he doesn't sleep. Like I think maybe it's just a artistic thing. Like a lot of art, because Art does, drawing art, and like I feel like a lot of artists they sleep at weird times. Yeah. Like sleep at weird hours. Yeah. Like
it's not normal.
Yeah.
It's just I went out to LA a few years back, and I had never heard this terminology before, being from Northwest Indiana, and it's a bigger thing I think out in LA because it's just so prevalent. But this girl was talking about her boyfriend. We were out to dinner, and this girl was talking about her boyfriend and all these things that was wrong with him. And she circled it all around, though. She brought it all around back to the front of it, being, well, he's just a creative, though. Oh, yeah. And like she just chalked all this stuff. I was like, man, you're a piece of shit. And but he's a creative, though.
So it's okay.
So it's okay. It's like, no, I don't think it works that way. But and she wasn't. These weren't things that like made him like bad. She was just like, he just is like he's gone, and then like, when he's back, he's like focused on this and this and this. Like, yeah, I mean, you're with this guy who does this certain type of thing. I mean, he could work on an oil rig and be, like he's still going to be gone half the year. Is he still like, I don't know. I don't know how that comparison even got brought into it. But still, yeah, it's just, it's like a different job for everybody. It's like a different thing. And
do you find that you like driving at night?
I find that I like driving at night better for sure. I feel like there's less traffic. There's less traffic, but there is more crap. So like we just drove home from Chicago a few weeks ago, and we played a show. We were the opening band, and then we waited to kind of see what was going to happen towards the end of the show. It was, plus the loadout was like really tricky. If we just started taking our stuff out, it wouldn't have really worked out. So we stayed for the last band, wait till they kind of let everybody out. Then we were like, let's get this stuff out. So it was about, I would say like 2:30 maybe in the morning, let's say, driving home from Chicago. It was like a rainier night, Friday night, and I'm telling you, I can just spot him from a mile away. He's inebriated.
Yeah, you can.
And so you have to be very cautious in that sense. Like you have to be like, there's less cars, but there's just more of the crap that you see. Like,
true,
is more. You have to kind of almost pay attention than more cars. Like traffic isn't bad when it's just moving, but when there's that guy that's swerving 2 lanes or 3 lanes at night and he's the only car, you're like, well, what's the move here? Do we speed up and go past? Do we hang back and watch him?
I always try to like wait for that timing when they're swerving over and then they swerve back. That's when you pass.
Yeah, see, we've done that. I've made that move, and you know what? Sometimes that's in the past, it's caused them to be like, oh, you want to race?
Oh, no.
And then you're racing this drunk guy, and you're like, no, man, I didn't mean to do it. So then you have to play almost like back off move, But when do I back off move? Because he's still swerving, Yeah. So yeah, it's a touchy thing, and I like being in control in that way. You can ask the guys in the band, you can ask people. We brought 3 people with us that day that weren't in the band. They were just wanted to come to the show and didn't want to drive. They knew that the weather was going to be good. They knew that we do this. And I saw the lady that came with us a few days later, and it must have been brought up, that like, oh, this was kind of a crazy drive home. Like, we saw that on that drive home, we saw like one accident happen right in front of us where the car, like kind of like another car got into a lane and it was wet, and then they both kind of freaking spun out. And so luckily I was able to get over to the local lanes versus that happened in the express lanes. Mm-hmm. And I saw that happened. I was like, oh, local lane. Cool. I'll circumnavigate this. So I dipped around that, and like, but it must have come up amongst the other people that weren't there that were like, oh, Stephan, like he was kind of crazy. There was like a crazy drive, but I still felt safe. Like that was what that was like like we had to deal with all these certain things, and he was pointing them out and all this stuff. But so she came to me and she was like, yeah, she was like, I know that was kind of a crazy drive home or whatever. And one of her other friends kind of said something. So at that point I knew they had talked about it, but she like was like, I just felt safe in your hands. And I was like, well, good. I promise that, like, you know, yeah, the van honestly doesn't even, like, we've got these bench seats in there, but like some of the bench seats, the seatbelts are broke. And so it's like, you know, it's not the most safe thing to get into, you know, but my mentality, especially for the band in general and the guys that are in it,
keep them safe.
Is to keep, every year people are like, oh, did you guys have a good year? I'm like, we're all safe.
Yeah.
Like, if whether the shows were all fantastic or not, great. Like, we're still going to do that. That's never been the thing that we're like, oh, shows were bad, we should probably quit this, you know? Like, we've had bad shows. We had bad shows till the day we die. That's the way major artists have bad shows constantly. Like, not even just bad shows where they play bad, but attendance wise or production wise, whatever it is. It happens.
Yeah.
So
the only reason I brought up the night thing is I prefer to drive at night. Yeah. And like when I would go to Ball State, I would always leave at like midnight.
Right.
Yeah. Because there would be nobody on the road. Yeah. And like I said, we left at 6 p.m. for Boston. There was another time where we left at 6 p.m. to go out west to Colorado, and it worked out so perfectly because we didn't plan it to we actually planned to leave that morning, but we just kept getting delayed by like certain things, like, oh yeah, we forgot to do this, forgot to do that. And it was me and two buddies of mine, and we got to the Badlands right as the sun was rising.
Oh my gosh.
And it was perfect. Like you couldn't have asked for a better timing. And I was like, what the fuck? That was totally unplanned. I just like prefer to drive at night, and that was another one where I just like leave at 6 p.m., drive all night, and then just stay up all day too because, well, I'm already up.
Yeah, so that sun comes up, especially when you head west. Once that sun hits you, you know, it's like you're like, man, I got a whole nother extra wind in me here. So yeah, I found that to be the way that is, and you know, I control freak or not, I've got a good record with it, you know, so I might as well be the one to continue it, you know. The exactly. The insurance is down to a minimal, you know, so for full coverage on this crazy big van with everything. So, you know, those are all things that, you know, make sense to it, you know, but
for sure. Well, we've been talking for damn near 2 hours.
Oh yeah, man.
How about we see you actually play the violin?
Yeah, man. I mean, like, play a song that I actually wrote once, you know?
Yeah. And so we're going to do something different this time. We're going to go play this in the other room. And it might look cool. It might be a theater. It might not. It might be my apartment. Who knows? Hey. But let's go check that out.
Thank you.
Dude, that was so sick. I'm so psyched that you got to like come and play that. I never got to hear you like solo before, so that was super interesting. I just want to give you a chance now to like plug like any of your social medias or anything like that. Where can we find your work?
Freshhopsband.com. That's probably like the easiest thing because it kind of all links are on there somewhere, of course, Facebook, Instagram, I don't even think we mess with X anymore, but, I would say the freshhopsband.com is probably the easiest place to somewhat get the information all in one spot and kind of shows when we're going to be coming up. A lot of people are like, when is your next show? It's all on there. A lot of the times we keep that updated more than we do the Facebook or the Instagram and things like that. But we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on Apple Music, we're on... someone told me they heard a song on Sirius more recently. I was like, on what?
Whoa.
But we're out there.
Any upcoming shows or anything?
Yeah, so we do the jam night every Wednesday night, all ages. It's at a Doc Smokehouse in Dyer. It starts earlier, which is 8 o'clock. We do it till 12 o'clock. So, kind of gives a really full time of a good amount of time for people to come and, choose what they want to see, the jam night or to see us play at 8 o'clock, whatever it is. We have our holiday shows coming up that we do. So December 22nd, we're out at the House Pub in St. Charles, Illinois. It's kind of our holiday show there, but it's also their 15th year anniversary. Really cool music venue in St. Charles. If you're out that way or if you know people out that way, to check it out, totally check that out. But then also on the 23rd, we'll be back in Hammond at the old Walworth department store. It's downtown Hammond, like 169th, I want to say, and Homan Avenue. And it's a venue called Eat, and it's our Hoppy Holidays 2023 all ages event. That department store actually, historically, if you know the story of the Christmas story and the Red Ryder BB gun and all that, the windows that he's looking through at the beginning and he sees the Red Ryder and those displays, those are the same windows that are on the Walworth department store. That's the same department store that he supposedly looked in to see that Red Ryder BB gun in downtown Hammond. So it used to be a department store and now it's a venue. So there's going to be a lot of stuff there, vendors, local foods. The Raimundo owns El Taco Real, which is a Hammond institution for Mexican food and such. And so he's going to be curating a delicious mix of Mexican food. They've got really good drinks and things there. We've got our friends Funkinetic, who are another original local band. They're going to be opening up the night. Pro Music or Pro Sound, Pro Lights. And then pretty much nothing really till the new year. And then from there, we've got some things kind of in the works. But yeah, those are the kind of the upcoming December things for the end of the year. Yeah.
All right, guys, you come check out the Fresh Hops and you'll see Stephan and Ian and all the other members of the band.
Marty and Tommy. And, yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, it was great having you on. Yeah. And this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
thank you, Andy.
I didn't expect it to go so long, but yeah, thanks, Andy, for barking during the whole thing. But
he's got to get his points across, too.
Yeah, he had something to say.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time. Cool.
Yeah.